everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Spontaneous sharing on this page. So excited of what's coming through. Today, this ACIM live is going to be all about letting go of control. Are you guys ready for this? Letting go of control, beginning to trust more, and not trying to manipulate or make things happen. How does that feel? How does it feel to get your hands out of things? How does it feel to begin to trust and not think about the past, not think about the future, and just be present and let go of that control? Stop trying to do it better than God. Really believe in God's will. Know that God's will is your will, and know that what's happening is exactly perfect at all times, and not wanting things to be different from reality, right? It's incredible. So I'm going to kick you guys in the butt today in a beautiful way. I'm going to kick myself in the butt. It's so nice to remember these things. But let me tell you about my day. I had such a beautiful day today. I woke up this morning. My husband and I went to do volleyball today and paddleball because we've decided that we want to integrate a lot more balance in our lives. Not that we don't have balance, but yeah, just more balance. Just work and play. Work and play. Not that we ever feel that we're working, because the work that we do is just so much fun. I think his work feels more like work because he's a web designer, but I love what I do because most of my days I spend either creating programs or doing counseling, spiritual counseling. So my spiritual counseling client I didn't have till 11. So we went to the beach, dropped off Ari at 9, which is my son, headed to the pier here in Naples and played volleyball. And we also did paddleball. And I lost, but I played good. I lost $25. He won both in volleyball and paddleball, but not by a lot, so I'm just practicing, and as a course student, not making it matter so much and just really enjoying. So that's been my day, and I just got off my session with this amazing soul, and the whole theme about our conversation was this letting go of control and really trusting spirit, and really living the principles of the course in a very organic way, in a very authentic way, and really beginning to really fully trusting and getting your hands out of it. Get your hands out of it. So welcome everyone. Welcome to this impromptu. First things first, yesterday we had our live ACIM class, and it was incredible. It was so deep. It was so powerful. Sign up. It's free. I do a free class every first Monday of the month. There's new students on there. There's students that have been studying the course for over 20 years. So there's all kinds of, levels in there. But the most important thing about this monthly class is it's free. That's first thing. And then second of all, it's just such great value in supporting you in studying the Course in Miracles and really living its principles. So if you want to watch the replay, just go ahead and register on my link tree. On this profile, just go to a free ACIM class, register on there, and you can watch the replay. And again, it's free. It's offered to you free, just like these Instagrams. And, take advantage of the resources, guys. Take advantage of the resources. On my YouTube channel, which you can find on my link tree, it says ACIM 365 workbook lessons. I did a lesson every single day last year for 365 videos on the workbook lessons of the Course in Miracles. I did some videos with my husband. I did some videos with my son. I did some videos when I went to the beach, when I was driving, when I moved cross country from LA to Florida. It's like really immersing myself in the workbook lessons every day, how to live them. And that is also available for free on YouTube. So guys, take advantage of these resources. All right, let's get down to business. So how many of you that are on here or are coming on here are ACIM half-assers? Half-assers. So what is half-assers? It means that you studied the course half-ass. I have somebody in my 9-week group right now, 9-week program. She was on the WhatsApp and she says that she's an ACIM half-asser. So how many of you are ACIM half-assers? I thought that was so funny. And it's so important. It's so important. Give me a second here. What's happening? Okay, it's so important to acknowledge that you are an ACIM half-asser. So if you're an ACIM half-asser, go ahead and give me a thumbs up or give me an emoji of how you are a half-asser. Are you an ACIM half-asser? Do you make exceptions? Do you make compromises? Do you live the course fully? Are you in I am love, but not really because I want to look for love outside of myself? Or I want to forgive, but not really because I still want to believe that something outside of me could take away my peace. So how many of you, I love the monkey. How many of you are making exceptions and compromises to the course? Tell me. How many of you say you want to be happy? You want to experience I am the light of the world. You want to experience I am as God created me, but you still want to look for your love outside of yourself. You still want outside things to define you. And you still want to believe that you're separate and that you're vulnerable and that you're a victim. How many of you are doing this? All right. Don't feel bad. Let's be gentle with ourselves. I did that for 20 years of my life while I was studying the Course in Miracles. Still a hot mess. And now I have on and off bouts of it. I'm more conscious now and I'm more awake to my limited personality aspects, as I like to say. So there's nothing wrong, and there's just a call for gentleness because we're always doing the best we can. But I have to say that if we want to begin to live the Course in Miracles, we need to get really honest about the exceptions and compromises is that we're making, and get very honest. Say, you know what, I really don't want to forgive, or I really don't want to not be a victim of my circumstances. I still want to believe that something outside can hurt me, and I still want to suffer about money. I don't want to think that God's will for me is happiness. I don't, it's like this contradictory way of living. Does that make sense? So there's a call, and this is what my book Live Your Happy is all about, which is based on the Course. When I wrote it, it came from that space of really having that epiphany of, oh my God, all this time the Course in Miracles hasn't been working, no matter how much counseling I did, no matter how much I read the blue book, no matter how much I did the workbook, no matter how many groups I went to, no matter how much I kumbaya up and down, right? I still felt like a hot mess until I realized that I was in my own way. And how this happened is that I was dating this guy. This is before I got married to my husband. I was dating this guy, this director guy in LA. And he had told me that he wasn't relationship material. I remember him telling me that he's just not relationship material. He even went on to say that he makes a bad boyfriend. He's a bad boyfriend. He's not a good boyfriend. He's a bad boyfriend if he would be a boyfriend. But of course, since we like to control and manipulate, and we know what's the best for us, not God, we know what's the best for us. Let me go ahead and just, convince this guy that he is relationship material, and let me go ahead and convince him that I am lovable and that he should love me because I'm the best thing on earth, and let me convince him, right? So how many of us do this? Not only in relationships, but just trying to convince the world to love us, trying to, feel validated. Like, this is what we do. And this is what I was doing in this relationship, again, for like the 100th time. Girls, men, can we relate to this? Looking for love outside of ourselves and wanting to, convince the person to love us, convince this person to love us. Oh my God, it blows my mind. Gracias, Ramon, right? It's like, this is what we do. It's like, let me convince this person to love me. Let me make them realize that I am lovable and that they should be with me. And I remember after giving a sermon at Unity of Burbank, I was so inspired. I had such a good time. I was on my couch in LA in my apartment, my little bachelorette pad. And I had the thought, my God, I should text him and I should invite him over for some bolognese and some wine and try to reel him in. I'm never going to forget this. How delusional. Okay, the day before, this guy's telling me he's not relationship material. and he's telling me that he's a horrible boyfriend, and I'm trying to put person in my house. I'm trying to get this person in my house to eat some pasta with me when they clearly are, it's no bueno. All right. Edie, lovely. I was about to tell the 9-way program that I'm doing this, but I'm happy that you felt the energy, girlfriend. I'm talking about this relationship I had with this guy, and it's a funny relationship. It's in the book too, by the way. Germán, amorcito, ¿cómo estás, corazón de melón? So I'm sitting there, and I realize that I've gotten into a delusion, because I'm thinking and believing that this guy, after he's told me that he's not relationship material, I'm trying to get him into my house, and I realized, wait a second, this is crazy. So I had a call of I started to cry, because I had this epiphany of how many years I have been looking for love outside of me, how many years I've been looking for love in a relationship, in a man, in a job, in anything. And I'm like, stop it, Maria. I'm like, this is crazy. Trying to text this person or get anxious about this person, to let them into your life, to convince them to love you, right? To convince them to love you. Not being worthy, not knowing that you are loved, that you don't need to convince anyone to love you, because you're it. Our Father loves us so much. God loves us so much, guys. God, when I experience the love of God, when I'm with my son gives me everything to remember that love. Oh my God, because he's 3, yes, that. I didn't know that love. I I thought it was outside of me. I'm looking for God's love everywhere else, but where it was, inside me. So I had this download from Spirit that said, you gotta forgive. And I was like, I gotta forgive? This was all on this couch that day, guys. You gotta forgive. I gotta forgive what? You gotta forgive your father. I was like, my father? Yeah, my father. Because my father committed suicide when I was 3 months old. And then ever since then, I had this story that I was abandonable. That everybody's gonna abandon me, since my father committed suicide when I was 3 months old. Not only that, Spirit said, you gotta forgive every man in your life. I was like, every man in my life? My God, that's a lot of men. That's a lot of men. At this point, my husband, Christian, which I love to death, we've been married for 4 years. Every time I say this at a workshop, he always says, how many? How many guys? I said, honey, that's the past. So I don't just gotta forgive my father, guys. I gotta forgive every man in my life. So forgiveness in the Course in Miracles is a correction of the story. So it's a beautiful correction of perception of where forgiveness is all about really understanding what's really real. So all this time, I have made really real all my relationships. I made really real my abandonment and knowing and feeling that I'm abandonable, and been super insecure. And then throughout this process that I learned this day from Spirit, of when I had this amazing channeling, I created the 7-step forgiveness process. And in this time, it just came to me. I just did it myself. I didn't read this in a book, guys. I never saw this ever. The only concept I had was the forgiveness part, the steps to forgiveness. But other than that, the 7 days of meditation with Spirit really changed my life. So I sat with Spirit every day, and I gave over my relationships to Spirit. So what I did is I went back in time and looked at every single one of my relationships and what story I had made up about that relationship. After I wrote that story down, I asked Spirit, what's really real here in this relationship? What is the truth here? And Spirit would give me its response of what that relationship really was and the truth about it, and what the true story is, which is true stories always comes back to love, always comes back to non-victimization, always comes back to non-separation. So that is what I experienced. So it was 7 days of epic healing. It was so hard, guys. It was so hard. I was still speaking at that point. I remember my assistant having to drive me around because I was a hot mess. I remember showing up to my powerful workshops and sharing with these women the transformation that was occurring inside me. And to make a long story short, because it's starting to be a long-winded story, but I'm sure you guys like it because it's nice and juicy gossip, juicy Holy Spirit gossip. I had a moment in the 7th day. I was just emotionally exhausted because of this process I was doing, that I pleaded to Spirit, I really want to experience love in my life. I want to experience a relationship that I feel worthy of being in it. I want to experience my ministry with someone, Spirit. I'm so ready. I've been doing these 7 days of healing with you. I'm so ready. I want love in my life. I want to feel like I'm deserving of love. And guys, you know what Spirit, the insight I got from Spirit was after I was pleading and saying, I really want to experience true love in my life. I want to feel worthy of love. This is what Spirit said. And this moment changed my life. And it's Spirit, but it's really me, my true self. I was ready to get honest about things. And this is what the course is helping us do, is to get really honest about things. And this is the most honest I've ever been with myself when I said this. And what I said was to myself, or what Spirit said to me was, no, you're not. No, you're not ready. And I kept on saying, yes, I'm so ready to have love in my life. I'm so ready to experience the love of my life. I'm so ready to experience unconditional love. And what I got was, no, you're not. No, you're not. And after 7 days of doing this, I was like, what do you mean I'm not ready? I've been crying a moco tendido. In Spanish we say moco tendido means that we're crying so much boogers are coming out of our mouth, or out of my nose, not my mouth, my nose. I've been crying every day. I've been doing meditation. I've been doing self-love work. What do you mean I'm not ready? I was talking to Spirit. You should have seen me. You would have thought I was a crazy person in my bed saying, what do you mean I'm not ready, Spirit? No, you're not ready. This is the blind spot, guys. This is the blind spot. This is the part that the Course in Miracles is teaching us, is the blind spot, is that recognition of what you think you're ready, but you're not, because you still don't want to do the work. I was saying that I wanted that love. I was saying I wanted that unconditional love. I was saying that I want, the light. I want to be the light of the world. I was saying that I want to experience this deep love and unconditional love and experience a beautiful relationship in my life, but not really. You know why it wasn't true? You know why it wasn't true? Because within that, I was still believing it was outside of me. And that doesn't work. Because there isn't anything outside that I need, because I have it all already. That is the trick. So the trick is the desire is fine. Of course, the desire of a relationship is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But me getting honest about, do I really want to experience the love of my life? Do I really want to experience unconditional love? But no, not really, because I still want to look for love outside of myself. I still want to believe that a person, place, or thing could fill me, could define me. And that doesn't work. Does that make sense? So at that moment, this whole world opened up to me, that I was finally honest with myself, that I'm making exceptions and compromises, that I really didn't want it. I thought I did, but not really. It's like, I want love, but not really, right? Because I still want to believe that I can get it outside. I still want to believe something outside can complete me. So you got to look at that as a course student, guys. You got to look at where you're making exceptions, where you're making compromises, where you're lying to yourself. I had a client I just worked with right now, when we were talking, she was talking about something she didn't do, or like she didn't meditate enough, and she was like beating herself up. And I'm like, listen, girlfriend, it's like, what you did, and it was exactly perfect. It's like you didn't want to meditate because you didn't meditate more, and that's okay. It's gentle, it's kind, this course. It's a recognition that, calling yourself out in a very kind and loving way, but you have to get honest with yourself. You have to see where you're making exceptions. You have to see where you're compromising, and stop it. Stop it. Stop it. So to make a long story short, which is super long story, is at the end, I recognized that I had that block. And my life changed after that, because at that time I just became awakened. I opened up a part of myself I hadn't seen before, a blind spot I had. And then now I'm able to show up the way that I show up in my relationship. And I think I met Christian probably 2 years after that episode happened. I met my husband, and then 3 years ago I had my son. And it's incredible how I show up in my relationship with my son, with my husband, because it's a constant recognition of that self-worth, of that self-love, and coming back to that consistently because of that moment. Ramon says, I believe in my mind, but how to feel it in my heart? Yes, Ramon, it's so intellectual sometimes, because we know it intellectually, we believe it in our mind, but we start to believe it in our heart when we do this type of work. What I just said right now, it's like really getting really honest with yourself. Like, seeing where is it that you're cutting yourself short, where you're half-assing the Course in Miracles, where and then you start to understand it, and it's not intellectual. You can't even put it into words. It's just, you just start to live it. You just start to experience a deep healing that takes place because you are getting really honest with yourself. Yeah, guys, that's my 2 cents for today. I was rambling on for a long time. I want these to be 10 minutes, but they seem to get long. But anyways, I hope you guys are having a beautiful day or a beautiful evening, wherever you are, and that this somehow has given you some value, or you've gotten something from this story. I'm going to close with this. Because I think it's beautiful. In my first day of the 7-day 7-day forgiveness process, which in my book, I actually have this process, but it's called 7-day fearless process because it came out in the fearless chapter. But just so you guys know, it was the 7-day forgiveness process originally. My first day of the challenge of that whole process, I did it with my dad. And I remember telling Spirit, I'm so sad, and I didn't realize that I was so sad about my dad because I was 3 months old. I didn't realize how much the pain was there, but I sat with Spirit, and all this anger came up, and all this, how selfish he is. My mom had just lost a son. I never met him. Suppose my older brother, if he would have stayed, he would have been alive. At 9 years old, he got run over by a car. And then my dad tried to commit suicide 3 times, and he finally committed suicide when I was 3 months old. So all I could think of is how selfish of him. How could he do this? What kind of person would do this? Like, really put my mom through all this pain, leave me. And then there was on and on this story of such abandonment that I didn't know was there. And I was just crying and crying and crying and crying. And when I asked Spirit, what's really real here? This is what I got. Are you guys ready? This is what Spirit told me. So beautiful. Spirit said, Maria. And I remember saying, Maria, I understand you're so sad about this. I understand that you are hurt by this story, and it's fine. And just know that your father, what your father did had nothing to do with you, absolutely nothing to do with you. And if anything, it was for you. And my father was a very jealous person, an alcoholic, and I got the sign or the message that if he would have stayed on earth, he would have hindered me in some way, or wouldn't have supported my life, or been super jealous, and that he checked out of here for myself. He checked out of here for my good, for his good, and for everyone's good, and that it was actually an act of love, not of selfishness. And also I got from Spirit that my father could never abandon me. Like, my father could never ever abandon me. I could never be abandoned because my true father is God. My father is God. Like, God is my father. So my father could never abandon me. And that's the beautiful message I got from Spirit. So I want you guys to look at your relationship. Maybe you want to do this process. I just went over it today on this live. Maybe you want to try this process and see what Spirit has to say, because there's a whole world of knowledge inside you. The power to heal is inside you. All right, everyone. I love you like a big coconut. And I will look at these messages later. And then I will see if I answer your questions for the next live. All right. Have a beautiful day filled with love and light. Until next time. Mucho besito.